wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Raisha Fatnin and I am from SMA Negeri 1 Jepara, Lampung Timur. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the honorable judges, and all of my dear friends. Guys, do you remember the days when we're still a child? We all have dreams, right? Do you remember what you dream of back then? Perhaps some of you dream of becoming a pilot, others may dream of becoming a doctor, or even someone else wanted to be an astronaut. That was wonderful, isn't it? Well, today we may have forgotten about those dreams, but there's a chance that the child within us still holds onto that little hope. On this occasion, I will take you back to the time when we are not afraid to dream big without fear of failure. Ladies and gentlemen, let us think back to when we were kids. There was a small voice that whispered to you about what do you want to be when you grow up. That voice wasn't loud, it wasn't intrusive, it just simply guided our step and path to reach our future. Ladies and gentlemen, when I was 7, I often accompanied my mother to her workplace. She was a junior high school teacher, a science teacher exactly. And I didn't do much there, just wander around and playing like any other kid. There, I watched how the teacher taught, and without realizing it, I thought to myself, like, wow, being a teacher is cool. When I grew up, I want to be a teacher too. But unfortunately, that was not the last dream I had. As the years passed by, we didn't just grow physically, but we also became aware that there's a lot of challenges that's standing in our path. Without us realizing it, many children out there are unable to reach their dream because for one reason or another. The factors that prevent many children from pursuing their dreams include 1. Fear of failure. Many children fear of failure not because they didn't dare to, but because they fear if they fail, they will disappoint others or even be humiliated. So they prefer not to try just to be safe. 2. Social pressure. The environment we live in now will shape our future. Yet, the very surrounding that meant to be supportive can sometimes become the place where we give up, whether it's family, school, or the wider community. An unsupportive environment often establishes social standard of perfection within society. 3. Social media. In today's modern era, information spreads rapidly. Photos of other achievement can trigger envy and lead to self-comparison, and often come with an expectation of seeing instant results. 4. Lack of role models and mentors. Not every child has someone by their side to guide them into discovering their true self, interests, talents, or just introduce them to the wider world. I have a friend named Lala who once told me, back then I want to be a policewoman. I loved sport as a child, and one day I saw a beautiful policewoman helping a citizen in the street. That's it when I decided I want to be a police officer. However, as she grew older, problems arose. Her father forbade her from becoming a police officer due to a difference of opinion. Since then, she just keeps saying, I don't know, I'm just going with the flow. To be honest, I find this statement is heartbreaking, especially watching my own friend once determined to be a policewoman, not just playing. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that everyone has the right to dream and the freedom to pursue those dreams. But tragically, in our beloved nation, Indonesia, the phenomenon of children being forced to bury their childhood dreams is clearly reflected in the high number of out-of-school children and child laborers that root in structural poverty and limited access to education. Data from Statistik Indonesia or BPS indicates that approximately 2.9 million Indonesian children have dropped out of school. As an empirical example, data from the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education records that 30.926 students ranging from elementary school to high school in Papua have been dropped out and abandoned their dreams due to conflict, geographical isolation, limited access to to education, structural poverty, and economic constraint. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand here to remind all of us, young people, the young generation of Indonesia, to believe in ourselves, believe in what we dream of. As children, we all have the right to dream and pursue those dreams. Obstacles are not a barrier to achieving our goals. Let us prove that every dream that is engraved has its own meaning. Before I close, there's a quote saying, sometimes when we silence a child's dreams, we are not only silencing one voice, we may be silencing a future that the world has never heard yet. That's all I could come with today. Thank you for your attention and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.